Hello, my name is Fred Trotter. I'm with CareSet Systems. I'm a healthcare data journalist, and I am streaming from Health Data Palooza 2024. Um, I am really honored to have a panel of patients and patient advocates here. The work that the Light Collective has done has been incredibly inspiring. I really appreciate all of the work that's come out. You've recently done work on AI policy, um, uh, all kinds of things. The Light Collective has come out. The Light Collective is one of the few organizations that does not focuses on both the upside of data, focusing on the good things that can be done with data, as well as talking about some of the downsides. Dr. Maya, your research has been widely celebrated. Everyone has told me that I should hear what your research is about and hear what you have to say. Would you please go first? Could you introduce yourself and then say what you've researched?
So my name is Dr. Maya Rockeymoore Cummings. I run a firm called Global Policy Solutions, but I'm more importantly a consultant to the Light Collective. And I worked in partnership with the Light Collective. Um, Jill Holders was a co-investigator of this research, and we also worked in partnership with a number of patient advocates to basically design a survey and distribute a survey. We got 377 participants to basically give us insight into how patients, caregivers, and patient advocates use the digital online and other wearables and other digital technologies in order to manage their healthcare. And what we found was amazing. Patients are avid users of online technologies and digital technologies. They are using their patient portals at high numbers. They're using Facebook and Instagram and Zoom and other technologies in order to basically get information about their health, to share information about their health, and to also get support. Frankly, they're using these platforms to get support from other patients and caregivers. And so, we found that, patients are fully active in the digital space. However, there are some red flags. Even though they're active in this space, patients indicate that they don't really read or the privacy policies of many of the companies that are, either leveraging health technology or even the social media platforms. And they indicate we found that they believe that basically there's already bias in the system. The ecosystem is basically corrupted, and they know that it's not in their favor. So even though they're advocates who use the digital ecosystem avidly, they're wary of the ecosystems. Basically, the way it's already put out there, that they don't necessarily have a choice in how their data is used. They indicate that they're very nervous and concerned about hackers getting their data, and certainly about their data being misused and abused. And so there's a tension between their use and certainly the rules of the road in terms of how their data is being used online. We also asked them about how they feel about AI. And many of the patient advocates see the potential promise of AI, thinking that it'll better manage their healthcare, better diagnose health conditions, do a host of things better than the current system of physicians only. However, they remain concerned about the perils of AI. So they're skeptical about whether it'll be implemented to the standards that it needs to be implemented, meaning they're skeptical about the potential misuse of their data. They're also skeptical that, that AI might not give misinformation, like hallucinations about their, and they want to have more control. So we asked them a battery of questions about policy. And what we found is they want more control over their data. They want AI to be regulated, and they want to make sure that they have, choices when it comes to how their data is used. So, overall, it was a fantastic study. We designed it using a participatory methodology, meaning that patients themselves developed the survey instrument and were responsible for actually recruiting the participants. from their network. So with that, this is a participatory research study, and we were very proud that it was a collective effort.
So it sounds like a lot of participation, but not necessarily fully willing participation with some of these risks and downsides. How did you decide to study this? Can you give me a little bit of background on how you got here?
So Andrea and Jill.
So many stories began with Andrea and Jill.
This is important.
Because that's my story too. That's how I come to be in this chair as well.
I'm going to have to find your story too, because I have worked with dozens of nonprofit organizations throughout my years, more than now 25 years of working in and around nonprofit advocacy work in DC and nation.
Are you in DC?
I'm in Baltimore. And hands down, the Light Collective is like in the top 2% of all organizations that I've ever worked with before. Because they're not just patient advocates showing up at the door of Washington, D.C. policymakers saying that we want this or we want that. They're working across different spheres. They're true activists in the sense of the term, that they're working actively with patient advocacy organizations. They're coming up with research ideas and designing research and conducting and writing up research. That is almost unheard of. They're going after bad actors in the system in terms of, certainly appealing and writing, folks up for consideration in terms of, some of the agency oversight agencies. And so, they're publishing not only in journals, but also in mainstream journal outlets, news outlets. So what you have here is an organization that is small but mighty, and it's operating on multiple cylinders. It's using every single tactic and tool that they have in order to have impact. And their impact has already been great. And they're a relatively new organization.
Well, so thank you. It's really nice to hear such nice things about something we're also invested in. Every organization has its quirks and flaws, and I don't think because there's people involved, there's never such thing as a fully functional organization, but the Light Collective is not lazy. So that's not the problem. Would you, the rest of the panel here, briefly introduce yourselves and say more about how you got to be here? And just pull.
Yes, hi. Thanks for having us, Fred. My name is Mike Mittelman. I'm from the Philadelphia area, so hence the Phillies hat on today. I almost wore an Eagles hat, but pretty bad loss last night. And I'm a rare disease patient, but I have a number of other chronic illnesses. So most of my work these days in the advocacy world is in the kidney transplant space, kidney disease, dialysis, and living organ donor space. So I also run a foundation called the American Living Organ Donor Fund. But my day job, I work in cybersecurity at a major integrated delivery network. So we're about now $15 billion in revenue from my day job, 15th largest health system in the United States. So I try to wear a little bit of that hat in my work with the Light Collective, as I'm the board secretary of the Light Collective right now. So very excited to help out whenever I can. Previously, prior to cybersecurity, I worked on the business side of healthcare. Had worked in the pharma world for a while, clinical trial space, patient market access, and sort of access to data as well. But actually, I used to come to this conference prior to being involved with the Light Collective. Part of my work with Corey, I'm a global Corey ambassador, brought me to this conference, as well as being in the health tech space, going out to JP Morgan conferences, that kind of stuff that had me involved in different technology and building tech products. In my world, I interacted with a Light Collective after hearing about some of the work they were doing in online communities. And it actually impacted me so much that I made a career change actually during the pandemic to work in cybersecurity. And so I work in the field full time now. It led me to going to DEF CON, which I had never been to before. I have a lot of friends who have been there. We presented at DEF CON as an organization. So we presented in the crypto and privacy village there. Light Collective has also presented at Biohacking Village. And I think one of the more important things that we do also as a Light Collective is as we try to teach others how to think about privacy and security. And that might be through different ways, not always technically, but we've sort of garnered a bit of a following in some circles of the hacker community. So we participate in small things where we try to get patients involved who don't have any technical background. So we'll participate in things like Biohacking Village, Capture the Flag, and we've placed in the top 10 before, which I think is pretty impressive as a group of patient activists who maybe don't have a background, right? You got some people on the team who can look at a PCAP or something, right? They're using tools versus other people are using their sort of policy or just learning how to use the internet archives, right? The Wayback Machines. So I think it's really important, and I work full time in the field now, focusing on privacy and security. So
that's really cool. We haven't caught up in a while, so a lot of that is really new.
Yeah,
so nice to re-meet you. That's amazing.
So nice to re-meet me as well, right?
And welcome to cybersecurity. The water's fine.
Yeah,
thank
you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Christine von Raesfeld, patient advocate. I have multiple conditions. Oh, scoot over which way?
No, you're good.
Oh, yeah. The actual picture is everything.
So it's good that you were so close together.
So for me, I've been a patient since the time I was a kid. Multiple conditions, autoimmune, rare disease, and also cardiac issues. The reason I started getting involved with the Light Collective was, to be honest, 2020 was a really difficult year during the pandemic for all of us. And so hopping on to some very early community calls with the Light Collective and kind of commiserating all of the things we were dealing with was a big kind of influencing factor. And then really finding out all of these issues that were affecting me, right? My social media ads were starting to be tailored down a very dark road, right? Medications I didn't need, funeral arrangements, ways to turn my body into a tree. And so that kind of led me on to this little discovery of how my data was being used. And then getting involved with DEF CON. Again, I contributed to the team when we played there, but then got to DEF CON and realized there were certain areas I couldn't be because I had a Bluetooth-enabled device. And so really all of these issues that have surrounded me around my data, my privacy, my security, my social media profiles have been stolen and used for different things. And my picture just has been used lately on things that I'm not working on. And so really just all of these issues around that data, that privacy and security, and how I'm able to even access my own data, right? I'm looking for my underlying cause, but can't get access to raw data despite participating in all of these things. So really just that, I don't know, whole life revolves around data. I grew up in Silicon Valley. And so I think that influence and learning those things early has also changed my mindset on a lot of these things. And so really now just being able to, with Light Collective, try to build our community and really inform people about the way things are happening. And instead of just sitting around saying, my phone's listening to me, they actually know what's happening.
Yeah, I had an experience recently where a patient came to me because her credit had been stolen, or identity had been stolen, and she was dealing with a major healthcare condition. I don't want to presume to violate her privacy, but it became very quickly clear that she did not have a credit problem. She had a healthcare privacy problem that was wrapped in a credit problem. Well, thank you for helping.
Fascinating world, right?
Yeah, it is fascinating.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sneha, and I'm the executive director at Generation Patient, and which is a nonprofit representing young adults with chronic and rare conditions. And we are young adult patient led. So I created Generation Patient when I was when I was 13 years old. And I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when I was a little under 6 years old. And I sort of recognized that this period known as adolescence and young adulthood was kind of often ignored because we focused a lot on kids and adults, but this transition period being so crucial to our development. And our work focuses on everything from peer support to leadership programming to health policy. And I got to meet Andrea, I believe, at Stanford MedX maybe 6 years ago. I was still in college at that time. And I remember how influential that meeting was for me, mostly because it was one of the first organizations that I felt was truly patient-led. And that was really inspiring for me because at that point, we were so early on with Generation Patient, and being able to have a model like that of like real authentic patient-led outcomes and research was really inspiring, and to see how it's evolved is even cooler now. But we at Generation Patient were part of the research as a member organization, and it was really cool because as an organization, we don't always have, as a patient group, we don't always have the capacity to fully engage in the issues that the Light Collective is really driving. But to be able to have our voices and our perspectives heard throughout that was really exciting, and an accessible way to increase the diversity of patient voices as part of the study, in particular with age, because for a lot of our community members, I mean, it's unfortunate, but there is this almost expectation that our data is being misused. And I think oftentimes we don't realize the safety implications that this can cause years down the line for us, especially those with chronic conditions at younger ages. So that's why I think this work is so important. And I just want to underscore how important the Light Collective is to just the broader patient movement too. One of the things that just goes unsaid oftentimes is how conflicts of interest can really end up driving some of the work. And the Light Collective is one of the very few patient groups that's independent of private healthcare industry funding, which makes a difference in the way that the organization is led and the way that lived experience truly guides all parts of the organization. So I'm really just honored to be a part with Andrea and everybody else here.
Well, the Andrea that we have all mentioned is Andrea Downing. She was the person who originally found the sick girl problem with Facebook, and is a founder of the Light Collective. And I just want to be clear, the Light Collective is amazing because you're in it. So that's what makes it ceases to be amazing as soon as the patients decide that it's not the useful, convening area that it is. So I really want to thank you for your work, and thank you for coming to Datapalooza. Thank you for talking about this stuff. I certainly appreciate it, and I think the whole internet does, and will more and more as they figure out that we really do have a problem in these in the space of patient privacy and patient data online. I'd like to sum up with something short from each one of you. One sentence, two if you're not the kind of person who can do one sentence, but what do you think do you see as the most important thing to think about as we move forward in the era of AI for patient rights? Just as quick as you can.
To pass national comprehensive legislation that puts guardrails around the use of health data, and who can use it. So that's the number one thing.
It's a great something.
I think the takeaway for me and for people who might be listening is that AI is here to stay. It's not going to go anywhere. And it depends on what you give it. So it can get worse or it can get better. And we really need to be smart about what we give these AI tools access to. So what's going to become very important is how organizations govern it, and how organizations like ours might be able to help participate and facilitate governance and regulation, and also your understanding of how it works.
I'm glad I'm not having to answer this question. Those would be tough acts to follow, but please try.
So I'm going to go with transparency and sovereignty over our data is necessary in order for AI to even scale.
Yeah, and I agree with all that came before me, and would just like to add that given the different ways that AI will be used in healthcare, whether that's within regulatory agencies or throughout medical systems, it's really important that patients are part of leading all aspects of what that looks like, because as Mike said, it's here to stay. And so I think it's really important that we're included as part of every single conversation surrounding the use of AI in healthcare.
It's the phrase, no aggregation without us. No aggregation about us without us.
Without.
But
No aggregation without representation.
All right.
I haven't had enough to drink today. I need to drink some more. I need a snack too.
what the Light Collective also has an AI patient bill of rights that needs to pass.
All right. Thank you so much. I think you are really having too much fun for my stream, so I'm going to stop now.